Hello grade 7 learners, welcome to our another session in Math O'Clock with teacher Catherine. I hope that you are all doing well, so please prepare your math modules, learning activity sheets, paper and pen, and let's start another math exciting lesson in mathematics. So let's go! For this week, we will be discussing about operations on rational numbers, but this video will be exclusive for the operations on fractions only. Okay, and at the end of this video, you are expected to perform operations on rational numbers, which includes the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of the different forms of fractions that we know. So what are you waiting for? Let's start! Let us have first addition and subtraction of fractions. In addition and subtraction of fractions, we have to consider if they are similar fractions, dissimilar fractions, or mixed fractions. So before solving, we have to take a look on the examples or on the given if what type of fractions do we have or what we are dealing with. Let us have first similar fractions. Similar fractions are fractions that have the same denominator. Examples of similar fractions are 1/6, 5/6, 11/6. And we also have another group which is 1/12, 5/12, 17/12. So as we can see, we have here two sets of fractions. And if we are going to take a look on their denominators, the denominators for each set are the same. For the first set, the denominator is 6, and for the second set of fractions, the denominator is 12. So as long as the denominator are the same, they are called similar fractions. And we also have to take note that in fractions can be added and subtracted only when these fractions are similar fractions. Again, we can only add or subtract fractions only if these fractions are similar fractions. So here is the rule when we are adding or subtracting similar fractions. When adding similar fractions, all you have to do is to add the numerators, then copy the denominator. Again, add the numerators, then copy the denominator. In symbols, let's say for example, we have the fraction a over b plus c over b, so the sum of which is a plus c all over b. So as you can see, we will just add the numerator and then the denominator b is copied. Another rule is that when subtracting, this is for subtraction, subtract the numerators then copy the denominator. This is the same with addition. The operation is the only one that changed. So in symbols, that is a over b minus c over b. So to get the sum, the difference of which, that is a minus c all over b. Let us illustrate the different rules by having the following examples. For example 1, we have 1/5 plus 2/5. So as we can see, we have here similar fractions because the denominators are the same. So to do that, applying the rule, that is by adding the numerators 1 and 2. So we have 1 plus 2 all over 5. And then after that, 5, we have 5 because we'll just copied the denominator. And then we will be adding the numerator. Just simplify the equation. So we have 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, and then just copy the denominator. Therefore, the sum of 1/5 plus 2/5 is 3 over 5. Let us have another example. Okay, so for the second example, we have 5 over 21 plus 3 over 21. Applying the rule, we will just be adding the numerators. So the numerators are 5 and 3. So 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. And then we will just copy the numerator. Again, do not add the denominators, okay? We will just be adding the numerator. Just copy the denominator for addition and subtraction. So I guess that we already have, or we are already clear with addition. We will now be moving on to subtraction. Example number 3 is all about subtraction. Okay, so we also have again 6 over 7 minus 2 over 7. And since the denominator 7 is the same for both fractions, that means that we have similar fractions. So this time, instead of adding the numerator, we will subtract them. So we will be having 6 minus 2 all over 7. Copied, and then 6, and then 2. Then let us subtract it. What do you think is the answer? Correct. So the answer is 4 over 7. Isn't it easy? Okay, that is as easy as 1, 2, and 3. So let us have the last example for subtraction. Okay, so we have here the given 8 over 15 minus 4 over 15. Okay, it is your time to answer. What is your guess for the difference of this? 8 over 15 minus 4 over 15. Okay, so if you did the following, so if you just subtracted the numerator and copied the denominator and arrived at 4 over 15, you are correct. Congratulations. So I hope that you have understood the rule in adding and subtracting similar fractions. Again, before we proceed to the next topic or next part of our discussion, I repeat that if you are going to add and subtract similar fractions, just add or subtract the numerator and copy the denominator. This time, we will be dealing with the similar fractions. So what are the similar fractions? When we say the similar fractions, these are fractions with different denominators. So here are the examples of which. We have here the first set of fractions, 1/2, 5 over 3, 11 over 6. These are examples of the similar fractions. And the second set is that 1 over 12, 5 over 7, and 17 over 22. So as you can see, take a look on their denominator. So the denominators are different from each other, unlike to what we have earlier. So these are the similar fractions. So how do we add or subtract fractions that are dissimilar? Let's have the next slides. Take note also that the similar fractions cannot be added or subtracted directly. First, you have to convert the similar fractions to similar fractions. So the first step in doing this is to convert the similar fractions to similar fractions. Okay, so here are the steps in adding and subtracting fractions. First, with different denominators a over b and c over d, where b and d should not be equal to 0, rename the fractions to make them similar, which denominator is the least common multiple of b and d. So we have the least common multiple. Again, so we have to review what is least common multiple. Another step, after renaming the similar fractions into similar fractions, we can now add or subtract the numerators of the resulting fractions, then copy the denominator. And lastly, do not forget to simplify your answers or write your answers in lowest term as always. So let us have the following example. We have the following 2/5 plus 1/4. So obviously, it is a dissimilar fraction. Again, the first step is to make this similar, and that is to look or to solve for the LCM or least common multiple of 5 and 4. So for 4, we will just write the multiples of which. So the multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. You may continue listing them. And then for number 5, the multiples of which are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. But since we are looking for the least common multiple, we will take a look on the list or the lowest number that they are, or lowest multiple that is common to both 4 and 5. So in our case, the least common multiple of 4 and 5 is 20. So this 20 will now be the least common denominator of our fraction. So after identifying the LCD, we will now convert 2/5 and 1/4 into similar fractions. So how do we do it? Take a look on this. So we have 2/5 equals 20. So we write 2 over 5, then equals the equal sign, and then write 20 in the denominator. After doing that, we are going to divide the two denominators, 20 and 5. So 20 divided by 5, the answer is 4. So after getting the quotient, you multiply the quotient to the numerator. So 4 times 2 is 8. And then that will now be the new numerator of our equivalent fraction. So the equivalent fraction of 2/5 is 8 over 20. How about for 1/4? So again, write 1/4, and on the other side, we will write the denominator 20. This is the LCD. Then we are going to divide again. 20 divided by 4, that is 5. What will be the next? Correct. We will multiply that to the numerator. So 5 times 1 is 5. And then after that, you write that on the as the numerator of the new fraction, which is, so we have 5 over 20. So the new or the equivalent fractions are 8 over 20 and 5 over 20. 2/5 is equivalent to 8 over 20, and 1/4 is equivalent to 5 over 20. After converting it into similar fractions, so we now have 8 over 20 plus 5 over 20. We will now proceed with addition. So add the resulting similar fractions. We have 8 over 20 plus 5 over 20. So just add the numerator. 8 plus 15 is equal to 13, and then just copy the denominator. So the final answer is 13 over 20. If you still have some confusions, let's have another example. This time, we will now subtract. So we have the given are 2/3 minus 1/2. So obviously again, we have the similar fraction since 3 and 2 are not the same. So the first thing that you are going to do is to look or to solve for the least common multiple of 3 and 2. So just list the multiples for each. For number 2, the multiples are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So on and so forth. For number 3, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, so on and so forth. So as we can see, the least multiple that is common to both 2 and 3 is 6. So therefore, we will now be using 6 as the denominator of our equivalent fractions. So the LCD is 6. So what are we going to do next? We have to convert 2/3 and 1/2 into similar fractions. Let us have first 2/3. So as you can see, we will now be writing the LCM 6 here. So what do you think we are going to do next? Okay, so we will be dividing. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then, correct, we will multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. And then we will now write it in the numerator of our equivalent fraction. So the equivalent fraction of 2/3 is 4 over 6. How about for 1/2? Okay, so doing the same process, so we will write here 6 and then divide again. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3, and then just write it in the numerator part. So the equivalent fraction of 1/2 is 3 over 6. After which, we will be adding or subtracting rather the numerators of the resulting similar fractions. So we will be having 4 over 6 minus 3 over 6 equals 1 over 6, because 4 minus 3 is 1/6. That is the final answer. Okay, so let us have first next mixed fractions. So for the mixed fractions, what are mixed fractions? When we say mixed fractions, these or mixed numbers, these are quantities that have a whole number part and a fraction part. And here are the examples of mixed fractions. We have 3 and 1/4, and you have 7 and 2/3. 3 and 7 are considered as the whole numbers, and 1/4 and 2/3 are the fraction part. So let us have example 1. When adding mixed numbers, 2 and 2/4 plus 1 and 2/3, what do you think is the first thing that we are going to do? Okay, so for the step 1, you find the LCD of the fractions in the mixed numbers to make them similar fractions. But if we already have similar fractions on the fraction part, we will now disregard this step. But in this case, in our case, we have the similar fractions. So we have to identify the LCD of these two. So what is the LCD of 4 and 3? So the LCD of 4 and 3 is 12. And by doing the process that I have shown you earlier, we will be having 2 and 2/4 will now become 2 and 9 over 12. And then 1 and 2/3 will now become 1 and 8 over 12. for step 2, since we already have similar fractions, we will now add or subtract the whole numbers and the similar fractions. So 2 and 9 over 12 plus 1 and 8 over 12. So on this part, we combine the 2 or the whole number parts, and on this part, we are going to combine the fraction part. Okay, so let us now simplify this. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, and then 9 plus 8 is equal to 17, and then we will just copy the denominator. Do you think this is the final answer? Alright, you are correct. It is not yet the final answer. So for our step 3, simplify if the resulting fraction is improper fraction, or simplify your answers if you can still reduce them in lowest term. So since we have 3 and 17 over 12 as the sum, 17 over 12 is equivalent to 1 and 5 over 12, because 17 over 12 is an improper fraction. So doing that, we will be having 3 plus 1 and 5 over 12. 1 and 5 over 12 is from here. That is the equivalent mixed fraction of 17 over 12. So combining 3 and 1, we will be having 4 and 5 over 12 as our final answer. I hope that you can follow, dear learners. Let us continue. So for number 2, the given is 7 and 1/2 minus 1 and 1/3. Again, obviously, we have these similar fractions. So for step 1, we are going to convert or to look for the LCD of these fractions and to make them similar fractions. So the LCD of 2 and 3 is 6. And following the process that we have a while back, we will be obtaining the following. 7 and 1/2 will become 7 and 3/6. 1 and 1/3 will become 1 and 1/6. This is 1 and 1/6. Okay? This is 1. 1 and 1/6. Okay, so let us have the second step. For step 2, we are going to add or subtract the whole numbers and the similar fractions. So since we have now 7 and 3 over 6 minus 1 and 2/6, 7 minus 1 is, we will subtract the whole number part, and then 3 over 6 and 2 minus 6. If we are going to simplify that, we will be having 6 and 1/6. So the last step is simplifying the resulting fraction if it is an improper fraction. So is 1 over 6 an improper fraction? Alright, it is not an improper fraction. It is, or does 1 over 6 still have a lowest term? Okay, so we do not have a lowest term for that. That means 6 and 1/6 is already our final answer. Okay, isn't it the process very easy? So addition and subtraction is quite easy as long as you know how to convert everything into similar fractions. Take note that in addition and subtraction, dear learners, all fractions should be in similar fractions. Okay? So with that concludes our video lesson for this session. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to answer your learning activity sheets. If you have questions about the topic, comment your questions or your queries in our comment section so that we can attend to your concerns. Thank you and God bless. Keep safe, everyone.